Welcome, everybody, to Off the Cuff. I am Adam Banks. Thank you for listening to the show. Coming at you live from Lexington, Kentucky in the Belmont studio. I have Amber with me. Amber, how's it going today?
Hey, man, you got my name right.
I did. You know, I said last week we're just going to call you Amber.
Like Prince.
Like Prince, you know, like Oprah, like Ellen, like Prince. Like Usher. Just, if you are known by just your one name,
You've made it.
You've made it. So
I don't know what I've made, but I've made it.
When this podcast goes global, and you're another person on that list that they just call Amber, hey.
I could be the Amber that Tiffany Amber Thiessen dropped.
You could, yeah. Like, why did she drop that?
I don't know.
It makes no sense. She made it as a career as Tiffany Amber Thiessen, and then she's like, I'm no longer Tiffany Amber Thiessen, I'm just Tiffany Thiessen.
And her career has never been the same.
It's never been the same. Like, what has she done? Really, what has Tiffany Amber Thiessen done since 90210? Which ended in 2000.
Nothing that I can think of, and I swear I like to think that Elizabeth Berkley was more famous than she ever thought about being, even though everybody is going to say Showgirls is a terrible movie. They can go to hell.
I can't say that Elizabeth Berkley was more famous because they both did Saved by the Bell, but then Tiffany did get another hit TV show for a good 5-6 years.
Now, she did, but when you think about Saved by the Bell, some of the things that you and I personally think about is what episode?
I'm so excited. Yeah, that's definitely...
So,
she's more internet famous because of all of that.
Well, she's more internet famous, and she did go on to do some Lifetime movies after she done Showgirls.
So did Tiffany.
She did, and actually, Tiffany, when she was Tiffany Amber, she was actually in quite a few Lifetime movies that I actually liked growing up. I think, like, A Killer Among Friends.
You know who fell off, though, within the Saved by the Bell cast? Lisa Turtle.
She actually looks terrible now.
She does. Like, they all really went on to do things, especially Mario Lopez.
Oh, Mario Lopez.
The most famous one. And then Mark Paul Gosselaar went on and did Franklin and Bash. He went on and did Dead Men on Campus. So he's done a couple things.
And he's actually on one of the criminal shows that are on, because there's like 50 of them.
There's like 50. And he was on one of those.
He's on one of those.
And then Screech, of course, he stayed relevant by just being a jackass.
Jackass, going to jail, doing celebrity weight loss, making a porno.
So he stayed relevant.
He stayed relevant,
and Mr. Belding, Dennis Hoskins, he stayed relevant by doing some stand-up. But Lisa Turtle, what was her name? Lark Voorhees?
Lark Voorhees.
Dropped off.
Well, I think it was because during that time frame she made accusations against her boyfriend, which was it Eddie Murphy?
Lark Voorhees?
I could be wrong on that. She made some allegations, and I really think it was Eddie Murphy, that they were in a relationship that he was abusive towards her. It might not have been Eddie Murphy. It might have been another African-American comedian, but she was in a relationship with someone that she made public.
Well, yeah, that's absolutely correct. Well, we went with the show. We started the show out with Selena, and that was called Bitty Bitty Bombay.
Bitty Bitty Bom Bom.
Bitty Bitty Bom Bom. And the reason we decided to come into that song is because Selena, not Selena Gomez.
Not Selena Gomez.
Not Selena Gomez,
not
but
Selena Gomez.
Selena, another one-namer. Another one-namer, Selena.
Yes, I guess that's true.
Yeah, she was known by her one name. She is finally getting a star on the American Hollywood Walk of Fame in Hollywood, California. Finally, it's about time. She died in March of 1995, so it's been 22 years since her death, and she's finally getting the star. Finally.
And, people always, say, "Oh, I love Selena, I love the movie," and unfortunately, people always associate the Selena movie as being, "Oh, that's Selena." No, that was Jennifer Lopez's depiction of Selena, and I actually grew up liking Selena, and I remember when she died, I remember thinking, "Oh my goodness, I love this song," because she had spent all these years, as a
like a Hispanic singer.
As a Spanish singer.
Trying to cross over to English.
When she finally made her crossover, I mean, it was just phenomenal. She had Thinking of You and If I Could Fall in Love. Those were two major hits.
I think that it's fitting that Jennifer Lopez played her because it's really like Jennifer Lopez stepped in as the new Selena when Selena passed away.
She really did. And, it's unfortunate that it took losing someone who was very elegant in my eyes. I
Yes.
like to think that she was very elegant. She, she might have done things her own way, but, you see a little bit of her scandal, during, this biography, biopic about her. But, even her scandal then was still nothing compared to what we deal with now. She secretly was dating someone in her band that she married.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Well, I wonder though if Jennifer Lopez would still be in existence if it wasn't for Selena's death. I wonder if if Jennifer Lopez would have rose to the top like she would have if Selena would have still been around, because I don't think that America was wanting two Hispanic singers.
You're kind of coming off, the 80s of, Gloria Estefan. So, you had her, she was very big, in the Latin culture, she was Miami, she was all about Miami. So here you have, this girl from Texas, who's coming in and, she's making it big. So it was kind of like Gloria Estefan took a seat, and then Selena rose up, and then unfortunately Selena passed away. And then Jennifer Lopez, 2 years later, had the chance to become her. And it just skyrocketed her career.
It's so weird how that happened. It's like, Jennifer Lopez, before her first breakout role was the role of Selena, the one person who would have prevented her, if she had lived, from rising to the top. I truly don't think Jennifer Lopez would have been what she is today if Selena had died. I think that what Jennifer Lopez is today is what Selena would have been.
Now, I think Jennifer Lopez would have still had a career, but
Maybe.
It would not, because she got famous from doing In Living Color. Mm-hmm. She was on In Living Color as a backup dancer, which, a lot of famous people come from In Living Color. You got Jim Carrey as, the biggest one that, people think about.
Right.
She probably still would have done something with her life, but it would not be to the extent that she is now.
The way she died, the way Selena died, she got shot by her best friend.
Her fan club manager, president. Yolanda was over, and Yolanda actually was, unfortunately the murderer. And what had kind of happened and transpired was Yolanda was taking money from fans.
Yeah.
And promising things, from Selena. And Selena went to, obtain documents from her. And at that point, instead of just being honest and saying, this is what I've done, in her own personal defense, she stated that she did not want to lose Selena, so it was better that she done it this way.
Yeah, she didn't want Selena to stop being her friend, because she knew that after that conversation of them meeting and her confessing that, yeah, she was robbing her fans blind, that Selena was going to drop her. And she was like, you know what? I would rather not live than live a life without Selena as my friend, because she was obsessed with Selena. She was obsessed, and that's usually what happens. You have to truly be careful with who you're friends with. You have to be careful with who you keep around in your life.
Yep.
Even some people you don't want to be friends with, you still have to be careful about how much you want them in your life, because things happen. Obsession happens. And when they become obsessed, things can get a little dangerous. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you felt like somebody became obsessed with you. And it's not necessarily even a significant other. It could be a friend.
Yes.
It could be a roommate. Those things happen, and it's truly terrifying. And I think there's signs that you can see before it happens. Like if they're getting upset when you're not texting them back at a certain time, or if they're getting upset when you hang out with somebody else. Let's say you hang out with another friend instead of hanging out with them, or they see you post a picture with somebody else instead of them. And I'm talking about friendships too, not just significant others. You have to be careful, because I've heard so many stories of them saying, okay, like they kidnap their friend and they put him in a car and you handcuff each other together, and then you're like, we're going to die together in the car while the car runs in this garage.
I'd really rather not.
Yeah, so I'd really like to live. Don't want to die with you, but you have to be careful with the people you let in your life.
And that is a very true statement.
Yeah, it's very dangerous. You just have to be careful.
How the hell we put up with each other for all this time, I have no clue.
Yeah.
One of these days I might handcuff you, but it would be to something else. It'd be like, you keep your ass right here. I'm going the other way.
It's very sad, but it's very happy to see that Selena is getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, which we have been on and argued on.
We have been on. Actually, there are photos that I would love. I really wish that you would use the photo of you laying on the ground at Will Smith's star.
Yes.
For the pictorial.
I don't know if I don't know if the picture was beside of his star. it might have been beside of his handprints.
It was his handprint. And very quickly I'll tell this because it was actually a very funny story. Adam and I traveled to Los Angeles at a very young age. We were 19.
1920.
We were 19.
Yeah,
we
couldn't even get a hotel.
No, we could not even get a hotel. My mother had to book everything for us.
Yes.
So, we get to Los Angeles. We have no clue what we're doing.
No.
No clue. But we make it, we get to our hotel and we're trying to think about what we're going to do. And, we finally decide we're going to go out to the Walk of Fame. And, anybody who knows Adam and I knows that we both enjoy entertainment.
Love it.
So, being, just on the Walk of Fame and being at the Kodak Theater was just, a wonderful experience for us. But nobody else felt the excitement that we did. So here we are. Adam's rolling around on the damn ground, taking pictures with all of these handprints.
Yeah, rolling around on the streets of L.A. How nasty and disgusting is that?
Like the homeless people were looking at him weird.
Yeah.
And then he steps on Michael Jackson impersonator's foot. And it was just...
Michael's like, ow! That hurt!
Such a wonderful experience, but nobody else that day found it nearly as exciting as we did.
Did Harvey Weinstein have a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame?
I do not think so.
I don't think he'll ever get one either.
I don't think he's ever going... The only star he's going to get is the star that someone's going to draw for him to hang on his prison wall.
So many people have come out against that man, and he has produced movies such as...
Oh gosh, we've got Mighty Aphrodite, From Dusk Till Dawn, Gangsters of New York. Oh my gosh, he's worked with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck on so many movies.
Just a world-renowned movie producer.
Yes, and that's kind of one of the things, that's kind of one of the things, as a woman, I agree, understand what you're going through, because I've been there too.
Yeah. So yeah, he has been accused of sexually assaulting women. He's been accused of just basically propositioning them for sex.
Sexual misconduct, sexual innuendos.
And you always hear about that in LA, that there's always these directors and producers that like to lure men and women in, trying to get them to do sexual acts with them to make them a star. And they have such a big carrot to dangle, because when you go to Hollywood, you've been there, I've been there, it is a place that you have to be careful in, because it will suck you in.
It will suck
and
you
it will
in.
chew you up, and it will spit you out if you ain't careful. So if you really, really, really want to make it in Hollywood, you really want to be famous, and there's somebody there that can actually make it happen, actually make it a reality for you, you will do stuff that you don't think you would ever have done. And that's what he did. He knew that. And Harvey had all of these people: Ashley Judd, Angelina Jolie, Rosanna Arquette, Gwyneth Paltrow,
Rose McGowan. Did you say Ashley Judd?
Yeah, all of these starlets, all of these famous women who he'd worked with, he propositioned them in some form, some fashion to...
He done some type of sexual misconduct to all of these women.
Yeah.
And, when you think about, when I think about sexual misconduct in Hollywood, I don't necessarily think about that happening in today's world, because as a woman myself, I'm very independent in my thinking. My body is my body. I'm not going to do anything with it that I don't personally choose to do. But when I think about sexual misconduct in Hollywood, I think of, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, when, you've got the Marilyn Monroes, you've got the Judy Garlands, you've got the Bette Davises, and you've got, oh my goodness, there's so many of them. You've got these women that were out there, and, there was a fairly famous show that was just on. It was The Feud, and it was Bette Davis and... Oh, goodness, what's the other lady's name?
I don't know why these women want to come out when somebody dies. Like Bill Cosby, when so many people came out after, well, he's not dead, but he was at a point to where he was so old, it was hard for him to have enough energy to defend himself. Why wait so long?
That's what I don't understand.
I don't get it. I mean, it's not like I don't trust these women.
Well, and the thing I think that kind of gets me, and, I think I made a post about this yesterday on Facebook, because Corey Feldman actually has a musical career. Didn't know if you knew that. You need to look it up.
Yeah.
But, unfortunately, Corey Feldman came out years ago and said, look, there are some shady ass shit that goes on behind closed doors to both men and women. And he was laughed out of Hollywood.
Yeah.
People judged him.
Who was this now?
Corey Feldman. He was part of the two Coreys. He was a very, he actually was a pretty big star in the 80s. He was in Stand By Me, Lost Boys, License to Drive.
I would like to know, like, wouldn't you like to be a fly on the wall? You have to think, look at these stars who have kind of rose to the top very quickly. There's a good chance that they slept their way to the top.
And that's very true.
I mean, and it's like, these are probably really good, wholesome people, men and women. I'm not just saying this is women.
You hear more about women than you do men.
You do, but there is a lot of homosexuality in Los Angeles and in Hollywood, and a lot of DL homosexuality. So there's a lot of discreet gay producers that are propositioning people like Tom Cruise, like Brad Pitt, like Will Smith. These masculine men, who knows what they've done? Who knows what they have done?
We know what Tom Cruise done. He sold his soul to Scientology.
Yeah, Tom Cruise is an absolute nut.
He sold his soul to, I would say the devil, but it would be the aliens in this case.
So, now the man can't defend himself. He's dead. And now his legacy is just going to be...
Wait, who's dead?
Harvey Weinstein, ain't he dead?
No, he's not dead. He's very much alive.
Oh, so this just came out.
This just came out, and I feel like Rose McGowan is the one who really kind of broke it off and was like, here's what's up. And then Ashley Judd is the one who intensified it. And, her being from the state of Kentucky, I've always wanted to support her, but she is always in the midst of every drama that's going on.
Right.
Lady needs to sit down for a minute.
She's just trying to get attention.
And that's very true. She is irrelevant in today's time. But no, I mean, Harvey Weinstein is very much still alive. He is actually in... he's in, and it doesn't make any sense because they said he was in both inpatient and outpatient treatment. Mm-hmm. They are not, they're not disclosing, what he's in treatment for. Mm-hmm. I'm going to assume that it probably has something to do with, a sexual addiction or an addiction of some nature.
How do you think this will affect his legacy?
His legacy is already tainted.
You think so? Well,
it is tarnished.
Do you think so? Because as far as people in Hollywood, as far as like other people, as far as other producers and stuff, yes, they know who he is and what he is and the actors and stuff. But as far as like fans like us, people who just see the name on the movies when they come up, when it says Weinstein or Harvey Weinstein, what does it say his production company? It's like Weinstein, and it's like Weinstein Inc. or Weinstein Productions.
I'm not sure on that.
But I knew the name because his name is on his production company, so it's on all of these major motion pictures. Are people, when they see that, are they going to really think in their head, oh, there's the molester, or there's the rapist? In today's
time, yes. Look what it done to Michael Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
If this would have happened 20 years ago, before everything was released on, unfortunately, social media, but it's the same thing that, allows us to do this podcast, that allows us to connect with friends, but unfortunately, I mean, it is the good and the bad, the bad being anything that happens now is so readily available to everyone that, no, I don't think he's going to be able to recover from that, because no one's going to want to work with him, because now, and again, I'm very proud to be a woman in 2017. I make up my own mind and I make my own decisions. And, I don't know how to say it without people thinking that I'm sexist towards my own kind. But, to a certain extent, we do need to reel it in just a little bit. My mother would be very, very, very upset with me if she thought that I was out, telling my every move of life. But unfortunately, that's kind of where we are now. And I think that people mistake standing out as, okay, I need to divulge every detail about my life.
Yeah.
Let me tell let me tell you about that one guy that I also got drunk and slept with, but I feel like he might have, molested me, like... I always like to think that, there's three sides to every story.
Maybe
there's yours,
in his...
mine, and the truth.
Right. Maybe in his death... though he will be forgiven. Like Michael Jackson, when he died, I felt like that all of the allegations, all of the rumors, all of the perception, it kind of just went away when he died. I think that it just kind of rebirthed his legacy. When he died, people wasn't talking about the molestation charges. They were talking about his music. It came out every now and then, but now when you hear Michael Jackson, he's getting more respect in 2017 than he did in 2007, 10 years ago.
Yep.
So, I mean, sometimes when people die, it's time heals all wounds. People only remember the good things.
Unfortunately, I mean, this man's got a long time before he's going to die, So he's going to have to try to navigate his life, that he built for himself, because he did build a lot for himself, making these great movies. And
speaking of legacies and legacies getting tarnished, officially,
yes,
Rick Pitino and Tom Jurich have been fired from the University of Louisville. Rick Pitino, the head coach at Louisville, he's been the head coach since 2001 there. After 16 years as the head coach as the men's basketball team, he has been let go, officially fired. I was thinking about this the other day, and I was thinking about the UK and Louisville rivalry. It will never be the same.
No.
It's over. If you see Louisville versus UK on the schedule, it's not going to mean anything.
No.
People aren't going to care. When you go to this game, it's going to be a slobber knocker, one-sided. UK is going to dominate. It's not going to be fun anymore. I think what made that rivalry just even better was the fact that Pitino was there.
Yep.
And who he was and what he used to be, the former coach of UK, and what he meant to us and the way he went to Louisville. It's never going to be like that again.
No.
It will never, even if they was to hire Billy Donovan and bring Billy Donovan into Louisville, it's still not going to be the exact same.
The only way they would be able to recreate this feud is if they were able to coerce Calipari.
Right.
And that would probably be, even if Tubby went there, I don't think that people would really care. They'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, they'd be like, oh, okay. But the fact that it was Rick Pitino, the only thing that would make it equivalent to that would be Coach Cal. But I was sitting there thinking of what a fall for such a great basketball coach, a legend. You have to give respect to the man for what he did for the University of Kentucky. That's
and not only University of Kentucky, but for this entire community.
Oh.
We have been blessed with, several coaches throughout history who have done things for our community, but the two most prominent that you think about are Rick Pitino and John Calipari.
Yes.
Those are the two coaches that you think about when you think about reaching out to the community.
Yes.
Making it more than just about basketball, but making it about being, the Big Blue Nation.
Yes.
And being a community, whether you live here in Lexington or you live back in Knott County, you were just as much as part of the BBN as we are here.
Rick Pitino, he owned the state. He was the jewel of Kentucky, and he left the New York Knicks to come to Kentucky, and Kentucky was on probation. It was in a very just dark time for Kentucky. He came in 1989. Came and completely just turned it around. He made it how Kentucky fans are now and how Kentucky is today. Rick Pitino did that first.
And weren't we even actually on a ban when he first came here? Like the ban where we couldn't even be televised?
We were on that. We had the death penalty. We couldn't be televised. We couldn't be in the tournament. We were off the map. We were off the grid. And he left the New York Knicks. And I was having a conversation with somebody the other day. Actually, I think it was yesterday. What is the best basketball job coaching basketball job in the world? And I try to be unbiased. Let's say you're from Idaho. What is the best job to have in the entire world? Some of the teams that were brought up was LA Lakers and the New York Knicks. Pitino was at the New York Knicks and he wasn't doing bad. He decided to leave for whatever reason, come to little rinkety-dink old Kentucky and coach, which was a legendary school. Kentucky was still Kentucky before Pitino came, but he just brought it back to prominence. He did so much, and what made him so special is he did it with Kentucky players.
Yep.
And, there was people from Paintsville in the Final Four, people from Pikeville in the Final Four. It was just like, it was awesome. And I was thinking about all the stuff that he did and how great he was. He left Kentucky, which I understood. He went to the Boston Celtics, but then he came back, went to Louisville, did his thing there, and what a fall. But what made Pitino, I think, snap was when in 2009 when they hired John Calipari. He couldn't take it anymore. The one man that he did not want at Kentucky was John Calipari, and he came and he ran him out of town.
Yep.
He ran him out of town. He could not beat him. Cal was beating him in the Final Four. Cal was beating him in the Sweet 16. Cal was knocking him out of even getting into the tournament, but beating him. He was dominant Pitino, and it was just, I think he won twice against Calipari his whole time here. Maybe once or twice. He was destroying it, so he resorted to cheating. He wanted to cheat because he never cheated, and there was no allegations of him cheating until Calipari came. Yep. Before Calipari, he was squeaky clean. He even looked better.
Yep.
And he started to age and go gray, and his face started to sink in, and it was just that was just the worst thing that could have happened to him. And not to mention, not just Rick Pitino, but the athletic director, one of the greatest athletic directors in all of college basketball, who nobody thought would get fired. He got fired, but you have to fire him. I mean, he was the captain of the ship.
Somebody knew what was going on, and if you knew, you know, you got to go too.
And Pitino still claims he had no idea.
And he is actually suing Adidas.
Is he suing Adidas?
Yes, he is suing Adidas. I read that in an article, like the middle of this past week. He is suing Adidas for false allegations. Don't know how that's going to come about. Don't know what that's going to mean for other people in the athletic department at the University of Louisville. I feel like it's going to bring about a shitstorm. I feel like it's going to just continue. I think in Pitino's attempt to clear his name, he's going to bring down a lot of other people. Right. And that's what I hate about situations like this, is you want to clear your own name, but you kill everybody else.
Well, you know, Pitino, he says he didn't know. And he did an interview the other day with Jay Billis. I don't know if you watched it, but he did an interview with Jay Billis, and the first question that Billis asked was, did you know? And Pitino said no. Even if he did not know, I don't care. It doesn't matter. You didn't know about too many things. It was not just Adidas. You said you didn't know about Adidas, okay, but you said you didn't know about Katina Powell. Okay, that's just two. I mean, come on. That's two major scandals. Quite possibly number one and number two biggest scandals of all time in college basketball.
Yep.
You were a part of it, and you said you had no. So that says to me that since you didn't know, that you are the worst manager in the history of college athletics.
Yep.
I mean, how do you not know that stuff's going on?
You can't not know. That would be like me saying, oh, I don't know what the weather's going to be like tomorrow. Mm-hmm. You know, weather is unpredictable, but I have an app that tells me what potentially is going to happen tomorrow. So at no point in time, you didn't hear any talk amongst the players. Did you not spend any quality time with any of them?
Yeah.
You know, did you not speak? You know, were you not involved in the recruitment?
Yeah.
Did you physically not go yourself to recruit these people?
Right.
Because that would be the only explanation that I could think would even remotely justify that you only had a brief knowledge of what was going on.
I think this is what happened. I think Pitino knew exactly what was going on, but here's what he said. He says, I don't like this. I don't agree with it. I'm going to let you do what you want to do. But if you get caught, I don't know nothing about it. And they got caught, and he said, I don't know nothing about it.
And how many times have you said that in your life? Because I can tell you, I say it all the time.
Oh, yeah, you say, you do you, but I didn't know this if you get caught.
Yeah, if you get caught, don't call me.
Yeah, don't call me because I don't know about it. And that's exactly what Pitino did. He got caught, but everybody's like, bullshit. The first time, maybe. Second time, no.
No.
I mean, it's two big scandals. It's two huge scandals. And not to mention, he slept with his staff member's wife, got her pregnant, paid for an abortion. You remember that back in 2008, 9, Karen Cypher?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a little side note. That happened while he was the head coach. Any other coach in America would have been fired over that. So
he rode his own notoriety down to the ground. He really did. He, you know, you and I have said it 1,000 times, you know, he peaked, and he rode that peak for as long as he could, and unfortunately, that peak train had to stop.
Yeah, he hit his peak in 2008. That's when he hit his peak because he had the number one team in the country at Louisville. Yep. He went to the Elite Eight. He should have won the national championship that year. Well, I say he hit his peak, but he won a championship in 2013. So, I mean, maybe that was his peak. I don't know.
Well, but at that time that there had already been, these scandals were already in place. So can you really consider that a peak if you are
You're absolutely right.
To get
because
to that?
He cheated to get to those, right. So everything post 2008, I think, was just cheating.
Yep.
And of course he won, because when you cheat, you win.
You win. Not for long.
No, you'll get
Because
caught.
the truth comes out a little at a time.
The truth will come out, and I might eat my words on this, but I truly feel in my heart that Calipari is not doing anything
I would like
illegal.
to think that if he was doing something illegal, this town would implode. Someone would have known by now. He is under a microscope.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Not just by this town, by everybody in the
Everybody.
NCAA. People
Because
want to see him fall.
People want him to fall.
Yes.
They want us to fall. You know, I talked to some friends that I have, you know, and I'm sure you've heard this of friends we make in college that were from other states, and they always say Kentucky basketball fans are the worst. And we are the worst.
Right, the most obnoxious. We're
through and through for our team.
Unrealistic, yes.
Win or lose, we are for our team.
Yes.
I might not know your name, but by God, number 21, take it, go, you know. And when we get into, you know, remember we watched when we won in 2012. Was it 2012, 2011?
It was 2012.
Yeah, 2012. We were together when that, you know, when we won the championship.
Right. And
you remember what it felt like being in that small bar.
Right.
There was probably 100 people in there.
People embracing each other, hugging, kissing. I'm sure there was probably a lot of babies made.
A lot of children made that night.
A lot of children conceived back in that time in 2012. Yeah, it was huge. But I agree with you. I think that if Calipari is doing something, he would have been caught by now.
He would have been caught by now.
But a big downfall for Pitino and for Tom Jurich. So I think that's a developing story. We'll have to just see kind of what happens.
I think, like I said, I think that in trying to clear his own name, he is going to take down a lot of either innocent people or people who really deserve, you know, to be in this spotlight with him. It not being a good spotlight, but deserve to be there as well. But unfortunately, innocent people are going to get caught up in this.
Yeah, Tom Jurich, the athletic director, he was fired too. That makes me think that Louisville's football coach, Bobby Petrino, will leave. And if that happens, because I think he was just there because his relationship with Jurich, I think if he leaves, that leaves the basketball team down, the football team down, no athletic director, no Pitino, no Bobby Petrino. Louisville is heading down a bad path, which is awesome because it's just great that Louisville is just I on a serious note, I do feel just a tad bit bad because Pitino, you can't forget what he did.
No, you know, he's kind of like that uncle that you have that goes to jail that was really good to you when you were younger. You know, you don't want to tarnish that entire memory, but unfortunately, when you talk about him, the first thing you say is, well, my uncle that's in the pokey, or my uncle who's in the pen, you know. By God, he was awesome growing up, but, you know, he's in jail now.
Well, enough Louisville talk. Let's talk about the real school in Kentucky. UK had an embarrassing loss against Mississippi State last night. I didn't go to the game because it was in Mississippi State, but I didn't go to the game. It was an embarrassing loss. They got beat 45-7. 45-7. You can't have losses like that and expect your fan base to stay excited.
No.
You can have losses, but you can't have losses to that extent.
And we've already had such a rough year. It feels like, you know, we've had a couple of good moments, and we've had a couple of not so good moments. And it's kind of like with every year, you know. Every year we always have a few good games, just enough to keep everybody hanging on. And then it's downhill from there.
Yes.
And I feel like we are already rapidly going downhill.
Yeah, and we are going downhill, and Kentucky, it was unfortunate. Everybody was excited. You know, Kentucky football, we're back, we're good. But I was like, why are y'all getting excited for it? We're at the same spot we always are. We're always 5-1 at this point in the season. We pretty much always beat South Carolina. We pretty much always beat Missouri. We always win those easy wins like EKU, Southern Miss, and Eastern Michigan. We always win those things. But then when it gets down to the games that are difficult and actually take effort to win, we always lose them.
Yep.
And so now we're right on schedule of doing the same thing over and over. We were supposed to lose to we're supposed to lose to Mississippi State. Guess what? Not only did we lose,
but I mean, we lost.
We got a good old fashioned ass whooping.
We lost.
It was embarrassing. It was just
that was like a Beaver Caney game circa 1999.
Actually, no, they had Andrew Watts. No, that was 1999. Yeah, Caney was pretty decent in 1999. They had Andrew Watts.
Well, now, buddy, in 2001.
Well, 2001 is a different story.
2001, you played, I cheered.
Yeah, I mean, Caney, at one point in time, they were good with Andrew, but when money left, it was just kind of like downhill. Caney.
Yeah, when the money was gone.
When the money was gone.
Yeah, the money was gone.
But Stoops, you're going to have to step it up, bub. That's all I'm going to say. Donald Trump is in the news again. But this time, he says that it is time to release some confidential files from the John F. Kennedy assassination case that happened on November 22nd, 1963 in Dallas, Texas. What do you think?
This has been such a controversial topic, I think, since November 22nd, 1963. Yeah. This has been something that has been building for so long. There are so many conspiracy theories around this one topic. Do I think that we are ever going to fully get a full picture as to what happened to John F. Kennedy? I do not think we will get that. So if that is what people are going into this thinking, that yes, we're finally going to get closure, I sadly don't feel that way. I do feel, however, though, that it is my right as a citizen to know what has happened in my country.
Yes.
President Trump stated that if any enforcement agency could give him just cause on how this would breach, what did he say? That if there was a security breach or anything that would lead to, anything that would put any U.S. citizen in harm, please come forward and pretty much let's talk about it, But at this time, no one has challenged him with a viable reason other than it's a confidential file, we should keep it confidential.
What is Trump thinking? Is Trump thinking that Lee Harvey Oswald is not the killer?
Now, Trump is friends with a writer by the last name of Stone.
Uh-huh.
And from what I have gathered is Stone feels as though Lyndon B. Johnson, who was our 36th president, who took over for JFK, single-handedly orchestrated.
I've always thought that to be a theory that could be true.
There are so many theories that are out there. I mean, there are theories that, JFK shared, privileged information about, Area 54, 56.
Yeah.
With Marilyn Monroe. And so, there's just so many theories that go on. Is this one far-fetched? No, I don't think it is. I don't think it's a far-fetched idea. I do think, though, it is time that we get some closure.
Yes, and whether or not it was Lyndon B. that did it, and I was actually looking for something on here on your phone to try to pull something up, but I don't think I would be able to find it in time for the show. Maybe next show. But there was some video cassette tapes, and it was like almost a podcast, I guess you would call it, back in the 60s, from Lyndon B. Johnson's wife. She did
would that be Lady Bird?
Yeah, Lady Bird. I don't know if you would call it a podcast. I guess you would. It would be called a podcast today.
Audio diary.
Yeah, she did an audio diary back in the 60s, and she was talking about the assassination of JFK and what her experience was like that day. And she said that she remembers walking into the room where they had Mrs. Kennedy and JFK, and her husband Lyndon B. was in there, and she was in there, Lady Bird. And she said that she saw Jackie, and she said she saw Jackie, and it was the most alone person she had ever seen in her entire life.
Uh-huh.
And she said that it was just, you have to listen to the audio. I mean, I can't give it justice, and I wanted to play it. But I think that when JFK died, Jackie just died too.
And if you watch the video, I mean, that's the most heartbreaking thing, because you can see, fight or flight, set into her, and she could not fight that. Her husband is dead beside of her, and here she is in this, what was it, a pink Chanel suit, because she's very elegant, just trying to escape this vehicle that's still going because no one knows what's going on.
Yeah.
And, she's covered in blood, and you see her reaching out for someone to just help her.
Yes.
And, you know, as a wife myself, I understand what that would be like.
Well, she was in complete shock.
Because you can't put that into words.
No, I mean, she looks over her right shoulder, or left shoulder, whichever side she was sitting.
He was on her right.
Yeah, I looked over her right shoulder and seen that his head was off. So when you see that, you know that they're dead. There's no coming back from it. I mean, his brains were on her pink Chanel suit. And what was it? Was it really pink Chanel, or you just?
No, it was a Chanel suit. I do know that, and I really do think that it might have been. I think it was pink, or it could have been like a blue, like a baby blue.
Oh, it was definitely pink.
Yeah, it was a Chanel suit.
Okay, it was definitely pink. She was definitely wearing pink on that day, and she looked over. She saw, you know, her husband's brains on her pink Chanel suit. She knew that he was dead. But yeah, there's a movie called Jackie with Natalie Portman. I haven't seen it. Have you?
I thought it was Katie Holmes.
You know, it's Natalie Portman. Natalie Portman actually was nominated for an Oscar for that role.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm surprised you haven't watched it.
I'll have to watch that.
Yeah, we'll have to watch that sometime. Maybe together.
Well.
Yeah, so, yeah, those files will be interesting to see.
I think that, again, it's not going to bring the closure that people want it to bring. But I think it is going to shed some light onto a situation that has just been, you've got the JFK assassination, you've got Jimmy Hoffa, and then you've got aliens. I mean, those are like the three biggest things that I feel like people are constantly talking about.
Well, the age-old question is, who killed Kennedy? Was it Lee Harvey Oswald?
Lee Harvey Oswald is who they said was on the grassy knoll shooting the day that Kennedy's rally came down, this Dallas-Fort Worth street.
Well, who killed Lincoln? Who was it that
John Wilkes Booth.
John Wilkes Booth, right? So Lee
100 years ago.
Lee's Harvey. I was going to say, I hope I'm not getting that confused.
No,
but
Lee Harvey Oswald.
We tend to, and this is just natural. I think it's just a natural reaction. We tend to believe what people tell us and what the majority is saying. The media says, okay, it was Lee Harvey Oswald. So what are we going to believe? We're going to believe it. But there has to be more to that. You just don't. I don't think that one crazy nut can.
No, that can't happen. Look at John Lennon.
I mean, yeah, it can. At John Lennon. It can, but there was more than. The shot, it was just too perfect.
Well, I think the thing that got me was the explanation that was given as to why, Oswald done this. And it was because, we were having issues with Fidel Castro. And at some point it was stated that Oswald was, a devout, Castro follower, and that John F. Kennedy had released an AP article that stated, we were going to take Fidel Castro, out of power, and there was not going, his presence was not going to be, prominent anymore.
Yeah.
And that was the driving factor that has been stated was, the reason for this senseless killing, because that's exactly what it was. It was a senseless killing. This man was our 35th president. He kind of paved the way, up to this point we had, I don't know how to say it, we had old white men, up to this point, who had all done amazing things. But here we finally had this man who I like to think paved the way for Bill Clinton, the president that everybody loved. He was the people's president.
Yeah.
But I like to think that JFK, had he had the opportunity and the chance to have been all 4 years in the White House, he would have been the people's president.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, people are still fascinated,
still obsessed with him,
and obsessed with JFK. They were obsessed with his son, JFK Jr., and I think he would have really. I think that he would have ran for president, JFK Jr.
Had he not died. But
had he not died,
there's just an ominous feeling about that entire family, and I feel like they just were not meant. They weren't meant to have a good name. You've got to think about, JFK's assassination, JFK Jr. dying, and, the matter that he did.
Yeah.
And then you also got to think about in the 70s when Martha Moxley was killed, the murder in Greenwich, Connecticut, where the family that kind of, the boy who killed Martha Moxley and the family who covered it up are direct derivatives of Jackie.
Yeah.
So there's just been scandal after scandal against this family that, I think it's, they weren't meant to survive. And I feel like the Clintons kind of wanted to be like that, but...
No, I absolutely agree. The Clintons wanted to be like that. They kind of mirror JFK. I think a lot of people still kind of mirror JFK. JFK was around at the perfect time because it was right when TV started to
really be a thing.
To really be a thing. He was like the first president to have his debate on television. But yeah, people fell in love with just everything JFK did, and that's why people are still fascinated with it. But I think that's what this country is still looking for. They're still looking for another JFK type president. They want somebody that has that charisma. They want somebody that has that mystique, that has that sex appeal, that has that just young. They want another JFK.
We're not ever going to have that again. We do not live in a time where we can have that ever again. That was just, I think that was like a one and done. You know, Bill Clinton came in and yes, he was very similar, scandals and all with JFK, but, I just don't think that we will ever have that again. I think the days of JFK and Bill Clinton are over. And unfortunately, it's going to be days of more like Donald Trump.
So you don't see Donald Trump becoming the new JFK, Amber?
I think fake tan and orange hair are probably not going to appeal to many women.
I definitely don't either. But we are running out of time. It is that time again to end the show. It's always a pleasure to do it with you.
Thank you, sir.
It's always a pleasure to do it with you. Another episode of Off the Cuff with Adam Banks and Amber. We'll see you next time in the next episode of Off the Cuff. We'll see you later.
Yeah, we at the airport out. D-block from the block where everybody Air Forced out. With a new white tee, you fresh. Nothing phony with us. Make the money, get the mansion, bring the homies with us. All the rocks that I got, I'm still Jenny from the block. Used to have a